Hello, my heart centered friends. Welcome to No Longer a People Pleaser. My name is Tina Rose, and I am here because I have been summoned to change the trajectory of your life by showing up truthfully and authentically about my healing journey. And I am empowered. I am empowered to empower you to show up for yourself, to help yourself, to dig deep and make the choice, make the commitment, and start now to choose to no longer be a people pleaser. So today's content is going to be related to something that an epiphany that I had. I'll call an epiphany, but it was really my higher consciousness putting it into my awareness a few days ago. And it's about spark mentally inspired, how to be spark mentally inspired. And this is another name for heart centered, following your heart to live your daily lives. It's about showing up for you, it's about self referencing instead of looking outside yourself to figure out what others want to hear, to figure out what do I need to do to make sure I am accepted in this circle, whether it's at home, in your family, at work, at church, wherever. Spark Mentally Inspired is about allowing Source to inspire you. And that comes from your heart center, your heart space. That is who you are. That spark comes from your heart. And you may have had to bury it for a very long time because your nervous system was always hyper vigilant about staying safe and being accepted and taking care of what other people's wants and needs were. But now your reference is going to be you and what is inside of you. And I want to encourage you to begin today. If you haven't already, be hyper vigilant now about calming your nervous system, about beginning to make the choices that reference what's in your heart, what's inside of you. The biggest thing that I can say about heightening your spark practice is you have to create a space within you. You have to get your mind quiet. You have to get grounded. The biggest way to get your mind quiet would be meditation. Practice, 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 not thinking. And as a lot of gurus tell us that the ego mind is going to be busy. The thoughts, a lot of times we don't have control over them. It's the way it's set up, right? Ego mind, God mind. So there's always that ego is always going to be trying to get in there and be your point of reference. So I recommend that you do breath exercises. When you slow down the breath, it helps to slow down the mind. You want to be able to slow down the mind so that you can hear, notice, feel when Source is providing you with the inspiration. So this is your first process of choosing, committing, and starting. If you haven't already started a daily meditation practice, quieting your mind, you slow it down And then as you slow your mind down, you become more available and aware of what's going on in there instead of being led by it. You want to notice what thoughts are coming through. And the thoughts aren't bad. It's how we respond with what we're thinking. So you start to recognize, well, this is a thought that makes me not feel good. This is a thought that seems to be distracting me from what I really want, etc. So you want to practice quieting your mind so that you can become better acquainted with what's really going on. I say up there, but it's in there, right? Our mind is not in our head, it's not in our brain. Our bodies are in our mind and surrounded by our mind, right? All right, we're not going to go there because that can get kind of abstract and I don't want to lose you here. But it's time to start doing this. Go within, breathe, focus on your breath. There are so many great guided meditations out there. And once you become better acquainted with meditation and you're better practiced at it, I would recommend going even further and not focusing on someone else's guided meditation. Once you become better at meditating, I would recommend that you sit with yourself in silence, not with a guided meditation, not even with music. Some of the time, I like to do that too. I like the music, but it makes a big difference when you have complete silence, nothing, especially not music that you grew up with and whatnot, because that can be very distracting. It takes your mind away thinking about, because that music can get in your bones. So sit in the silence of your own mind. This is the Holy Spirit of your higher self. This is your higher consciousness. This is source. That silent space. Jesus used to say, he probably still does, but he would say, sit in the silence. Be the space, in space, between the planets. So you can start by just visualizing that in a quiet, silent meditation. I've done it many times and I love it. And then when a thought, comes in, you just recognize it. You say, oh, yep, that's a thought. And you let it float away. Sometimes those thoughts are put there by spirit rather than put there by the ego activity. And as you progress, you get better at discerning the difference. That's what was happening to me a few days ago. I talked about it on an earlier video. When I woke up one morning and I was just laying there in bed before I rolled over, before I opened my eyes, and I was just laying in the silence. And I had no thought. And that's when that information was put into my mind about spark mentally inspired, which is another word for the phrase head to heart coherence, source inspired, spark mentally inspired. And that just came in and I knew it right away. And then I got my confirmation from my spirit guides that that's what it was. I always like to do my confirmation, especially at first, when you're first getting started to learning how to follow your heart and listen to your heart. And has always been important. This is the main goal of being a human, is to come back to your true self, come back to being source led, heart led. But it's more important now more than ever more than it ever was. And that's, I mean, I don't even know, that doesn't even sound right, but I was watching something and I followed Edgar Casey for a long time. And he has a special place in my heart. I'm kind of close to Edgar Casey. I'm less than 3 hours away. So I've made several trips to that part of Virginia to visit the Casey Center. And so, but somebody recently said that Edgar Casey, he was a psychic and he made predictions along with other things that he did, help people heal medically and whatnot, physically and emotionally. But one of his predictions was precisely about February 2026, the month that we are now in, currently at the time of this video. And that this was a time, the month of February in 2026 was a time when the shift is going to happen, the big shift, a big shift into heart based manifestation. The heart based manifestation is going to be activated more than ever. And so I feel like there's nothing random, right? A few days ago when my higher self put that into my awareness, this is why, right? We're all tapped in, or we all have access to the same higher mind, so to speak. And so it's always trying to get wherever you are on your path, those who are ready to receive it, it's always dropping in the same similar things. So I want to do an energy healing today, and it's going to be around clearing emotional energy blocks, because this is important. The more we clear emotional energy blocks, the more we can be receptive to the God inspiration, the source inspiration, the spark, mentally inspired thoughts that come into our head and ideas. And one of the things I want to go into that this clearing the emotional energy is going to be around in the energy transmission today is going to be about self-referencing. And I think I mentioned it at the beginning of this video. And that is about looking inside yourself for what you think, for what you feel. What are you feeling? What is your opinion? What are your desires? What are your wants and needs? Instead of looking outside yourself, begin to self-reference. And one of the things you can do, I remember back when I was full into being a people pleaser, even the simple things, a coworker, we're going to lunch. They'd say, okay, where do you want to eat? And I would always be afraid to speak up. I didn't even know how to think that way. And I would say, whatever you want. I don't care. Whatever you want. Always. So start with something simple like that. Even if there's a chance, because that's what would happen. Even when I started practicing speaking up and giving an idea about something I might want for lunch, they were like, yeah, I don't like such and such. Even though I would sit there and tell myself, well, they're asking me where I want to have lunch. I'm going to say, but chances are they're going to not want it. So be flexible. But every time you exercise that muscle of self-referencing, instead of just letting it flow to the other person or the other situation, you strengthen that muscle. It's like lifting weights for that self-reference. And so this energy transmission is going to be around that. There was something else I wanted to say. Can't think of it right now. But I am going to pause the video here, and when I come back, we're going to get into the energy healing. And another way, I just remembered that I wanted to encourage you to practice self-reference is to not appear to be agreeable with something someone is saying if it does not resonate with you. If you don't agree inside yourself, let this be the second way that you practice self-referencing. Don't act like you're agreeing with them if you don't agree. This was a big one. I saw it recently in someone close to me, and I used to do it all the time. I would be afraid to resist or speak against anyone's idea or opinion. I would make it seem like I was agreeable. A lot of times that would go beyond just being silent. I would agree when I didn't agree. I was like, oh, yeah, I see why, that would make sense. Even when I didn't. And I'm pretty much, empathic, intuitive. I do have my own thoughts, but for so long I did not share them. I would be agreeable. And let that be the second thing that you do in your self-referencing practice. And this entire video today is about heightening our spark practice, heightening our ability to listen to our heart and join the Follow Your Heart Club. That's my little spin on it. So the energy transmission for today, I do have the amethyst, which is going to help us with spirit connection and our inner knowing and being aware of our inner knowing. And then yellow calcite for opening us up to higher guidance, the Holy Spirit. My goal for me is to be 100% living in the shadow of my I am presence. That is my goal. I want to be self-realized. I want to be God-inspired. I want to be inspired, spark mentally. So let's get into it. And these crystals they're going to be right here in front of the laptop, have been imparted with vocal tones. And I don't usually say that, but I'll say it today. The yellow calcite is the sound, like the word at, ah. And it actually, certain tones, and I go through a process of yes and no's and asking spirit, what is the best vocal tone for me to impart into each crystal to amplify this crystal's healing frequency even more. So this one is ah for the calcite, and then the amethyst is U. Anyway, I've already done that off camera, just to give you a little idea about what that means when I say imparted with a vocal tone. And I was spark mentally inspired to do that. A few years ago, it just came into me, and I had already noticed at that time that I was beginning to make vocal tones. And I don't sing. I mean, I love to sing. I sing all the time, in my own space, but I'm not musically inclined professionally or otherwise. But I started feeling spark mentally inspired to feel the vibration of the sounds that I could make in my body with my vocal cords. I would start humming. I had a vocal tone meditation, a humming meditation, and I just fell in love with it because you can hear and you can feel the vibration in your body. Certain tones might send it up here, like the E sound sends the vibration upward, like toward your third eye. Sacral sounds like bomb kind of take the vibration down to your sacral chakra, your pelvic area. There's really scientifically and esoterically, proof that this is important. We create everything through sound vibration. Anyway, that's a deep, deep subject. Okay, let's get into the energy healing. The crystals are here and ready. Get into your comfortable position. I invite you to close your eyes to demonstrate your commitment and say, I am open to receive. And we begin. Take a few rounds of deep breathing, focusing your mind's eye and your attention on the center of your chest. There's a space in the center of your chest, just under the sternum, at the thymus gland. And if you place your palm over your chest so that the thumb and the index finger are at the base of your throat, and just for a moment, feel that space in your throat and under your palm as you hum. Take a deep breath in, and on the exhale, hum, and just feeling into that vibration. Let's do 2 more just like that. Inhale. Hum. And 1 more. And just sit in the silence of that feeling, that physical feeling of that vibration. And as I begin channeling through this energy transmission for clearing emotional energy blocks and opening a quiet space within ourselves to be more aware in the moment of what is going on inside us, our inner reference, our self-reference. Calling in our friends in high places, our spirit guides, our guardian angels, our higher self, and source. Only love is real. Only that spark is real. Everything we see, hear with our physical eyes is not our true reality. It is our physical reality. But what we cannot see is more real than what we can see. So, with that, this choice point, choosing to commit to journey your inner world, release emotional energy blocks. This choice point aligns you with your soul's purpose, and the opportunities that match your soul's purpose begin to find you effortlessly. Practicing self-reference is going to help you reclaim your energy, all that energy that you've been giving away for so long. You begin to call back to yourself, and you get new opportunities to choose again, choose a new way of communicating, a new way of speaking, of choosing you, of choosing what your desires are. When you allow your heart to speak, the universe listens. When you allow the heart's desires, reality responds. When you allow and choose to follow what the heart knows, manifestation happens. I invite you to repeat after me. I let go and trust that I am held, loved, and taken care of in every moment. Everything I need is given to me, and I make the choice in this moment to be open to receive my spark mental inspiration. I want to be spark led. I want to be source led. I want to put aside the need to figure things out. I want to put aside the need to control. I want to put aside the need to manipulate situations. I want to put aside needing to plan. And I want to allow the spark within me to grow brighter and brighter with every choice I make to self-reference. I choose me. Whenever it comes up in conversation, I am going to look inside myself and say in my mind, I like something else, even if others don't. We love you. Blessed be. Talk to you tomorrow.